You've heard about the Slender Man, the tall, thin figure dressed in a suit who stalks his victims before brutally murdering them. But have you ever heard about the haunting of Hill House? No. Then let me fill you in. It's one of Netflix's most popular horror series, and for good reason. The story follows a group of 5 siblings who, as children, experienced some terrifying events at their home. Now that they're all grown up and seemingly leading normal lives, they are forced to return home when their house is on the market, and it is unsold, despite being the perfect home. Something must be stopping potential buyers from making an offer. In the show, the home comes alive and takes on its new visitors, preying on their deepest fears and insecurities, and turning their worst nightmares into reality. And while these stories seem completely unrelated, what if they aren't? What if the home had something to do with the mysterious Slender Man? If you think this crossover sounds scary, wait until you hear what I've planned. I'm your host, and you're watching this channel. Join me today as we explore the darkest depths of the internet, uncovering creepy posters that will make you question everything you see and hear. So be sure to like and subscribe, so you won't miss out on any of our terrifying tales. Bye. The show, The Haunting of Hill House, begins by introducing us to the Crane family. Olivia, Hugh, Nell, Luke, and young Theo, and their home. It's not just any home, it's a mansion. As soon as they move in, strange things begin to happen. Olivia starts hearing whispers coming from the walls. She sees apparitions walking down the hallway and feels a cold spot in the basement. Even worse, her children start seeing things, too, like the ghosts of a little girl in a Victorian nightgown. And while she's initially skeptical, she can't deny what she's seen with her own eye. At first, the family tries to make the best of it, but things only escalate over time. One day, Olivia decides to take a closer look around the property and discovers a hidden room in the basement. There she finds an old journal belonging to one of the house's previous owners, which reveals a tragic history filled with murder and despair. As the story progresses, Olivia becomes increasingly concerned about her family's safety. She notices that the house seems to be targeting each child based on their deepest fears, and as the lines between reality and nightmare begin to blur, she realizes that they may not make it out alive. This story is absolutely terrifying, but there are some moments that truly stand out as the most haunting. One of the creepiest scenes in the entire series is when the quiet and shy daughter is reading a storybook, and suddenly the words on the page change. This moment is significant because it shows that the house is aware of its inhabitants and that it feeds off their fears. It's as if the house itself is taunting them, knowing that it can manipulate them into doing whatever it wants. Another terrifying scene occurs when Luke, the rebellious middle child, is confronted by a manifestation of his fear of commitment. In a particularly disturbing scene, he's shown a vision of himself as an old, lonely man, suggesting that he could end up alone and unloved if he doesn't break free from the house's grasp. This scene is especially effective because it plays on a universal fear of growing old and facing life's challenges without support. But what if these characters were faced with an even greater evil? Something lurking outside the house waiting to strike when they're most vulnerable. Imagine the terror of trying to escape the horrors of one mansion, only to find yourself face to face with the infamous Slender Man. The woods surrounding Hill House are the perfect setting for the mysterious Slender Man to hide in. He could use his powers to control the minds of those who enter the woods, driving them insane or manipulating them into doing his bidding. For example, he could lead potential buyers of Hill House into the wood, then feed their fear back to the house, keeping it perpetually active and preventing anyone from leaving. It would also explain why the house seems to target each child based on their deepest fear. The Slender Man could be using the children's fears against them, exploiting their vulnerabilities to keep them trapped inside. He might be doing this either on his own or under the orders of someone more powerful than him. Now imagine the chaos that would ensue when the Crane family learns the truth about the Slender Man and his connection to Hill House. They'd likely band together to try and protect each other from his influence, but he'd be too strong for them to handle on their own. That is unless they could find a way to exploit his weaknesses. For example, we know that the Slender Man is vulnerable to fire, so the family could try to burn him. But doing so would not only be extremely dangerous, it would also require a lot of courage and planning. The show could explore how each character copes with the knowledge that they're being hunted, evil, and how they work together to try and survive. We could see Nell use her psychic abilities to try and communicate with the Slender Man, or Luke use his carpentry skills to try and build some sort of defense against him. Meanwhile, Olivia and Hugh would likely try to protect their children in any way possible, even if it meant putting themselves in danger. The show could also explore the origins of the Slender Man and his connection to Hill House. Perhaps he was once a human who was tortured and killed in the house, or maybe he's an ancient spirit that's been haunting the woods forever. Exploring the Slender Man's backstory would add a new layer of depth to the series and help explain his motivations for wanting to hunt down the Cranes. Overall, a crossover between the haunting of Hill House and the Slender Man would be a match made in hell. Both stories are already incredibly creepy on their own, but when combined, they create a level of terror that would be hard to top. Now, imagine the possibility. What if the house wasn't just haunted by one entity, but by several? What if the spirits of the murdered children were trapped inside, unable to find peace? Or maybe the house itself was a malevolent force, feeding on the misery of its inhabitants. The possibilities are really endless. It would also be interesting to see how the characters deal with the idea that they were being haunted by a supernatural creature. Would they turn to religion for help or try to fight back against the darkness? Perhaps they'd seek out the help of a paranormal investigator or a priest to try and rid the house of its evil. But even that might not be enough to stop the Slender Man. He's known for being incredibly elusive and difficult to destroy, which means that the stakes would be higher than ever. The characters would have to use all their strength and courage to try and survive the night. Now, let's imagine that the Slender Man has been stalking the Crane family for years, even before they moved into Hill House. Maybe he's the reason that their parents were killed in a car accident. Or maybe he's responsible for the tragic death of their baby brother. If this is the case, the family wouldn't even know what hit them. They'd be trapped in a never-ending nightmare, always one step behind the creature that's been haunting their dream. The final season of The Haunting of Hill House could focus on the family's struggle to escape the clutches of the Slender Man. We could see them try everything they can to protect themselves and their loved ones. But ultimately they'd have to confront their fears head-on to survive. This type of ending would be both terrifying and thought-provoking, leaving viewers to wonder if there's anything more terrifying than the monsters that live in our closets. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, so you don't want to miss out on any of our terrifying tales. And if you have a creepypasta you'd like to see adapted, leave it in the comments below. Who knows, it could be featured in a future episode. Until then, happy haunting.